which classically causes Kala Azar. So you know what is Kala Azar? Kala means black and Azar disease. So black color disease. So what is this black color disease? What is the pathogenesis? That I will discuss in today's lecture. And yeah, so okay, just to give me a nod if you see the PowerPoint. Can you able to see the PowerPoint, dear students?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Very good. So, okay, today I will discuss about hemoflagellate, especially the Leishmania species. So, Leishmania is a hemoflagellate. I hope you know. So, this Leishmania will cause a very specific disease called Kala Azar. This Kala Azar I will discuss in today's lecture. So, kindly pay utmost attention and kindly start writing your notes. So, the subject is parasitology and the subject code is BMLT 6001, right? So coming to the syllabus, we completed unit 1 and we started discussing about unit 2. In the unit 2, we have two important species. One is amoeba or sarcodine species and other one is mastigophores. So amoeba include Entamoeba histolytica, we finished, and mastigophores include Giardia lamblia, Trichomonas species and Leishmania. So Giardia lamblia we finished and Trichomonas also we finished. The only topic that is left in unit 2 is Leishmania disease. Now I will discuss in detail about this Leishmania donovani in today's lecture. So coming to the point. Okay. I don't know why automatically the slides are going on. Anyway, I will check it later. Anyway, so now see students, introduction to today's lecture. Very, very interesting. Kindly pay attention. Is everyone listening my words? Students, are you paying attention?
Yes, yes,
Yes, sir.
Very
Sir.
good. Yes, very good students. Okay, let me discuss about Leishmania donovani. So before, you know the complete spectrum of classification of parasites. We have protozoans and helminthes protozoans. We have intestinal protozoans and blood protozoans. In the blood protozoans, we have amoeba flagellates and hemoflagellates. Similarly, we have intestinal amoeba flagellates, ciliates, and sporozoites. So now we are discussing about blood flagellate, especially the blood hemoflagellate. Our Trypanosoma species and Leishmania species are blood flagellates. Now I'm discussing about this Leishmania, the Kala Azar. Leishmania will cause Kala Azar. Now we are discussing about Leishmania, which is a hemoflagellate, that is blood and tissue hemoflagellate, which is a protozoan. So Leishmania donovani is a protozoan which is a blood and tissue protozoan. In fact, it is a hemoflagellate. This is the point. So this is where it is present. So I'm discussing about Leishmania donovani in detail in today's lecture. Now, the things you already know, we have sarcodines and mastigophores. Sarcodines include amoeba, mastigophores include ciliates, flagellates, and sporozoites. So now I'm discussing about a typical flagellate, which is Leishmania donovani. So I'm discussing about hemoflagellate in detail. So coming to the point, just removing all these things. Before discussing about any parasitology students, you need to know some important basics, which unfortunately I haven't discussed with you in my previous lectures. So now onwards, let us standardize the parasitology so that we can able to have a format for future lectures. Let us have a uniformness in our lectures. So just to know some basics like a chain of infection. I hope you know what is this chain of infection. Chain of infection means this chain of infection will show us how a pathogen will cause a disease to the public, to the people. By understanding chain of infection, we can able to prevent the transmission of the disease in the public. So let us see how this chain of infection looks and what are the stages of this chain of infection. The first and foremost thing is it will start with an infectious agent. It can be a parasite, it can be a bacteria, it can be any virus or fungi. Let us keep a infectious agent such as a parasite. For example, a Leishmania donovani or malaria. Okay, so malaria is an infectious agent, and this malaria will naturally present in some places. Those natural habitat is called as reservoir. For example, the malaria reservoir will be drainage water, stagnated water. In the stagnated water, the malaria parasite will present. So that is called as reservoir. Now, or reservoirs can also be some some animals such as mosquito. Now, mosquito can be stated as a reservoir for malaria. So malaria will present in the mosquito, right? The Plasmodium species may present in the mosquito. In case of Leishmania, the reservoir for Leishmania will be will be a sand fly. Okay, sand fly or stagnated or contaminated water. So let us see the reservoir. It can be water, any water or any birds. Okay, land, soil. So that is reservoir. For example, if it is a mosquito, now from this mosquito, the parasite will exit. How the parasite exiting? For example, let us take Taenia solium. The natural reservoir of Taenia solium will be pig. So from pig, how the parasite coming outside? That is called as portal of exit. For example, from the pig, the parasite will come. The parasite will exit by anus. So fecal-oral route will be the route of exit for the parasite. So after coming from anus, the parasite will present in the stool of the pig. From that, from the in the stool you have the parasite. Now a housefly will land on a stool. Now this housefly will transmit this parasite into another animal. So this is called as mode of transmission. Mode of transmission can occur in two types: mechanical transmission and biological transmission. So the organisms, the animals that will transmit are called as vectors. The animals that will transmit a pathogen from one animal to one host to another host is called as vector. Okay, here there are two types of vectors. We have mechanical vectors and biological vector. Mechanical vector means if the parasite present outside the, okay, let me give you an example. I have a housefly. If the parasite present outside on the legs to the housefly means that is called mechanical vector. Now if the parasite present inside the housefly, it entered into the housefly blood body, and if it is residing inside the housefly means that is called biological vector. So the main purpose of vector is vector will transmit the pathogen from one place to another place. Whatever things that are transmitting any pathogen from one place to another place, those can be stated as vectors, and these vectors are of two types: mechanical vectors and biological vectors. After let us see once again the housefly. Now this housefly carried this Taenia solium parasite, and it landed into a food material. It landed into some food material. Now one innocent fellow, he is very interested in eating some ice cream. Already that ice cream was landed by a housefly which contains Taenia solium. Now what our person will do? He will start eating the ice cream. When he is eating the ice cream, the parasite will enter into his body. So what is the portal of entry for this parasite? So here the entry is oral route. Through mouth, the parasite entered into the person's blood, person's body. It can be through mouth, it can be through blood, it can be through cuts, it can be through any other means. So that is called as portal of entry. After portal of entry, it will go to the susceptible host. The person will get infection. So this is the stages of chain of infection. So the chain of infection, which starts with the infectious agent, reservoir, portal of exit, transmission, entry, how the parasite entering into the host, and who is the susceptible host. Now if you want to prevent the infection means you need to break this chain. If you break this chain, the person cannot get the infection. Okay, how to break this chain I will tell. For example, let me break reservoir. Maybe malaria present in the stagnated water. If I'm not keeping any stagnated water means malaria cannot survive. So by removing reservoirs or by killing mosquitoes, I can able to prevent malaria in the population. So I need to break reservoir. So in any one stage you need to break this chain. So if you break this chain, the person cannot get infection. So that is the major importance of this chain of infection. You just break the chain of infection and you can prevent the spreading of infection to the public. So that is why the chain of infection plays a very important role. So why I am discussing chain of infection in parasitology? Because here we can able to see what is the natural reservoir of that parasite, how the parasite exiting from the reservoir, how the parasite transmitting, how the parasite entering into the host, and what type of host getting infection. By knowing the parasitic reservoir, portal of exit, transmission, entry, and susceptible host, I can able to take preventive actions to break this chain to prevent the possible infection to any person. So that is why I need to know the chain of infection in detail. Now let me take you to the somewhat elaborated and detailed chain of infection in the next slide. Okay, so this is the very elaborated chain of infection here. See here, we have infectious agents. It can be a bacteria, virus, parasite. Then we have reservoirs. Reservoirs can be people, animals, food, soil or water. Then portal of exit can be mouth, through vomit, saliva, through skin cuts or through toilets. Will be the portal of exit. After portal of exit, mode of transmission. Mode of transmission can be through contact, through droplets, or through vectors. It can be biological vectors or mechanical vectors. After transmission, it will go to the portal of entry. Portal of entry can be mouth, skin cuts or eyes. So after entering into the entering into the body, it will start giving, it will attack the susceptible host. Susceptible host can be either babies, children, elderly persons, teenage people, or unimmunized people, or anyone can get susceptible to any infections. It sometimes only immunodeficient people will get parasitic infections, opportunistic infections, or sometimes only just born babies will get infection. Sometimes only children will get infection. So depending upon the type of parasite, the susceptible host will vary. So by breaking this chain of infection, you can able to prevent the possible future infection to the society or to the population. So you need to break this chain to prevent the infection, the spread of infection into the community, right? So that is why we are breaking the chain. In case of COVID-19, we know that COVID-19 will spread through droplets. By respiratory droplets, the COVID-19 may spread. So that is why we are preventing the droplets by keeping a mask. If you keep a mask, you are breaking the mode of transmission. So if you break the mode of transmission, if you're breaking by keeping a mask, even if the person coughing, the parasite, the virus cannot spread to the society. So that is why you need to break this the chain of infection to prevent the spread of infection into the population. Now you understood the significance of chain of infection, right, students? Now have you understood the importance of chain of infection? So these are the stages of chain of infection. We have infectious agent, reservoir, portal of exit, mode of transmission, entry, and susceptible host. So yeah, this is very important. I forgot to tell this topic to you previously. Anyway, so I hope you know what is the chain of infection. Let me start discussing about Kala-Azar or Leishmania donovani infection. So you know that it is a celebrity or somewhat a very known disease which is called Kala-Azar. Now let us discuss in detail about this Kala-Azar. What is Kala-Azar? What parasite will cause Kala-Azar? What is the pathogen? What is the reservoir of Kala-Azar? What is the portal of exit of Kala-Azar? What is the life cycle? All these things I will discuss in today's lecture. Okay. So is everyone listening to my class, students? Is everyone paying attention?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Very good, very good. Our Navneet, I think Navneet muted his mic. Okay, so let us discuss about Kala-Azar. Okay, coming to the point, students. Before discussing about Leishmania or Kala-Azar, you need to know some basics regarding reticuloendothelial system. We already discussed about reticuloendothelial system, or other word I said in the last semester called central foci. Can anyone say the organs present in central foci? I think Tannus, many students know this. What is central foci?
Sir,
Yes,
liver,
liver, spleen, liver, spleen, bone marrow.
More thing.
Bone marrow, right?
Bone marrow.
So liver. Yes, very good, very good, very good. So liver, spleen, and bone marrow are the three important organs of our reticuloendothelial system. And keep in mind, the major cell that is involved in reticuloendothelial system will be a macrophage. So what does the macrophage do is, this macrophage will start migrating into liver, spleen, and bone marrow. Also, macrophage migrates into the skin. That is the purpose of macrophage. Macrophage is a wandering. It's a wandering cell that will try to detect any pathogens and it will digest the pathogens. That is the job of a macrophage. Okay. That is the major job of a macrophage. And this macrophage will start migrating to the liver, bone marrow, and spleen. Now, let me tell you one important thing. There is one parasite, Leishmania parasite. What this Leishmania parasite do is, it will start eating macrophages. It will start presenting inside the macrophage. It will start living inside the macrophage. That is the natural habitat of Leishmania species. Leishmania species will reside inside a macrophage. That is something really interesting. Now the problem is, if this Leishmania present inside a macrophage, now it can able to access the places where a macrophage can go. So with the help of this macrophage, Leishmania start migrating to liver, spleen, bone marrow, and it will even migrate to the skin also. So Leishmania is really dangerous parasite with a very deadly diseases. It has very mortality rate is very high for Leishmania. So Leishmania uses this reticuloendothelial system to spread the infection in the body. So believe it or not, after malaria, Leishmania is the second deadliest parasitic infection worldwide. Leishmania is the second deadliest parasitic infection. Okay. So the first is always malaria. After malaria, Leishmania infections are the second deadliest diseases worldwide. Believe it or not, 1.2 billion people are affected by Leishmania disease right now. 1.2 billion people has been infected by Leishmania species, and it will cause a disease called Kala Azar. Out of this 1.2 billion people, 300 million people are from in India. Especially Leishmania is very prevalent in Bihar, in some parts of Uttar Pradesh, Jharkhand, and in the Karnataka. So in the India, 300 million people are suffering with this Leishmania infection. So Leishmania is a serious concern, and let me show you the pathogenesis and some interesting features of this Leishmania. Okay. So let me discuss how the Leishmania infection occurs. Okay, so we have a blood vessel. So I have modified my style of teaching. So I will keep this as a standardized model hereafter. Okay, let us see here. So we have a blood vessel, and we know that inside the blood we have many types of cells. Particularly we have a macrophage, and this macrophage will migrate to the spleen, liver, and the bone marrow. So this is the central foci of macrophage. Now let us see the life cycle or the pathogenesis of this Leishmania. So we have a sandfly called phlebotomus. Okay, there is a sandfly called phlebotomus. So now this phlebotomus sandfly landed on a blood vessel on a person. So after landing of this sandfly, in this sandfly there is a parasite called promastigote. A promastigote will be released into the blood circulation. Leishmania has two forms, promastigote and amastigote. So first, a promastigote will be released into the blood. Now, this promastigote will start migrating towards the macrophages. This promastigote will start migrating towards the macrophages. It migrates towards the macrophage. After entering into the macrophage, this promastigote, after entering into the macrophage, it will convert its morphology to amastigote. It will convert to amastigote. Simply, in a simple words, this is flagellate form and this is aflagellate form. Flagellate form is called as promastigote and aflagellate form is called as amastigote. Mastigo means flagella. Mastigophora, flagella containing micro protozoans. So that is why we said promastigote. So this is promastigote. So promastigote will enter into the circulation. So we got a sandfly. Sandfly will land on a blood vessel. So after that, this sandfly will release a promastigote into circulation. This promastigote will go to the macrophages. After entering into the macrophage, this promastigote will convert to amastigote, and this amastigote will start eating the macrophages, and it will start spreading into the spleen, liver, and bone marrow. Now it will go to the spleen and it will start eating the spleen. It will go to the liver and it will start eating the liver. It will go to the bone marrow and it will cause anemia. It will start depleting and eating all other blood cells. Okay, so it will do many lethal consequences inside the body. And also at the fourth stage, this amastigote will start migrating to the skin and it will start eating the skin. Now let me show you the patients who are suffering with liver infection, splenic infection, bone marrow infection, skin infection. Okay, typically our Leishmania will cause 3 infections. One is visceral infection. Okay, one is visceral infection. That means visceral cavity includes liver and spleen infection. And second one is skin infection. It will cause skin infection, and it will also cause mucocutaneous infection. It will cause 3 infections in the patient. It will cause visceral infection, skin infection, and mucocutaneous infection. Let me show you the 3 types of infections to you. Okay, so these are the 2 forms of leishmania. We have a aflagellate form which is called amastigote, and we have a flagellate form called promastigote. So we have promastigote and amastigote form for the leishmania. Then this leishmania will cause 3 types of infections. It will cause skin infection, which is called cutaneous infection. It will cause visceral infection, which is called visceral infection. Then it will also cause mucosal infections. Now let me show you how a cutaneous infection looks like, how a visceral infection looks like, and how a mucosal infection looks like. Get ready to see the pathetic consequences of this leishmania infection. So first, let me show you cutaneous leishmaniasis, or skin infection by leishmania. So this is how a patient suffering with leishmania skin infection looks like. I hope you saw people with this kind of nodules outside. Have you seen like this, students? Any people like this? So this is an actual leishmania infection. If you see, then you can understand how much people get affected by this infection in our India itself. 300 million people are infected by this leishmania. The World Health Organization stated that leishmania is the second serial killer, most prevalent infection. See, this is called as a cutaneous leishmania infection. Okay, skin leishmania infection. Let me show you a severe form of skin infection by leishmania. So this is disseminated cutaneous leishmaniasis. So this is a disseminated cutaneous leishmaniasis. It is a leishmania infection with very severe, very high infection. So this is disseminated cutaneous leishmania infection. Okay. Then we have second one, which is visceral infection. So visceral infection looks like this. So visceral infection will cause infection to the liver and spleen, resulting in abdominal inflammation. The abdomen will severely inflame. After inflammation, since it's destroying the liver, the red blood cells will get lysed. When the red blood cells lysed, the hemoglobin will be lysed, resulting in increased bilirubin levels, resulting in increased hemolytic anemia. Due to this hemolytic anemia, the skin color will change to black. Due to hemolytic anemia, the skin color will become black, and the persons who are infected by leishmania looks like a black color. They will become black discoloration because of hemolytic hemolysis. That is why this disease is also called as black color disease, Kala Azar. Since the person's getting hemolytic disease, that is why the person will become black color or deep brownish color, and that is why this disease is called as Kala Azar disease. And this is how a visceral leishmaniasis looks like. This is the signs and symptoms of visceral leishmaniasis. The person will become black and his abdomen will become very inflamed. The abdomen will become very large. So this is visceral leishmaniasis. Then the third one is mucocutaneous leishmaniasis. So the third one is mucocutaneous or mucosal leishmaniasis. Are you following me, students? Are you listening my lecture? Students in online?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. Now let me show you the third type of mucosal leishmaniasis. Kindly keep your hearts strong. Literally, the images will be very, you need to have a strong heart to see the images of mucosal leishmaniasis. So this is how a mucosal leishmaniasis looks like. This is how a mucocutaneous leishmaniasis ulcers looks like. So the leishmania trophozoite, the parasite will start migrating to the skin, to the mucous membrane, and it will start eating the mucosal membrane, resulting in mucocutaneous leishmaniasis. So this is how a natural mucocutaneous leishmaniasis looks like. So this is mucosal leishmaniasis or mucosal leishmania disease. So these are the 3 important conditions that will be seen by the Leishmania parasite. So it will cause cutaneous leishmaniasis, it will cause visceral leishmaniasis and mucosal leishmaniasis. So this is how a cutaneous leishmaniasis looks like, and this is how a visceral leishmaniasis looks like, or also Kala Azar, and this is how a mucosal leishmaniasis looks like. So these are the three important conditions that will be seen in the leishmaniasis disease. Now let me show you the other one. Now there is one interesting feature for this leishmania. For example, one person got leishmania disease. Okay, this guy, he got leishmania disease, and we have given him treatment, and he was recovered from the infection. Our patient recovered from the leishmania infection. After recovery, after 2 years, after post recovery, after 2 years, we don't know why, but miraculously again he will get leishmania infection. Somehow the leishmania become dormant stage in the body. It will become a latent stage. After 2 years, it will cause again leishmaniasis infection, secondary infection in the same patient, and that secondary infection is called as that secondary leishmaniasis infection is called as post-Kala Azar dermal leishmaniasis. This is seen in very rare patients. So up to 5 to 10% of patients will develop secondary leishmaniasis infection after 2 years. And this secondary leishmaniasis infection is called as post-Kala Azar dermal leishmaniasis, PKDL. Only in 10 to 15% of patients we will see this particular post-Kala Azar dermal leishmaniasis. So this is really interesting, and it is really challenging to treat this cutaneous or post-Kala Azar dermal leishmaniasis. Really challenging. Okay, so this is all about the post-Kala Azar dermal leishmaniasis. So this is how a post-Kala Azar dermal leishmaniasis looks like. Poor little girl, she got a bump on her forehead. Okay, basically what's happening is macrophages will migrate in the lymphatic channels. So wherever there are lymph nodes, in that lymph nodes you will see these kind of nodules and pus formation. So the parasite will spread through the lymphatic channels of the patients, and it will cause this specific condition called post-Kala Azar dermal leishmaniasis. So we have many types of lab diagnosis to detect this Kala Azar infection in the people, and most of the people will be asymptomatic, and these asymptomatic people will be super carriers in the population, and they will spread this leishmania disease to the population, to the people. So we need to identify these people, we need to treat them. If we are not treating them, definitely they will spread the infection. That is why 300 million people are suffering with leishmania infection. In India alone, globally 1.3 billion people will get infected by this leishmania, and that is why we need to have a vigorous laboratory testing and a vigorous laboratory surveillance programs need to be initiated by nations to identify these silent carriers, to treat the silent carriers, to prevent possible future endemics, right? So we have many lab tests to detect this leishmania disease. Okay, so yeah, these are the 4 conditions we will see in leishmaniasis. We will see cutaneous leishmaniasis, we will see visceral leishmaniasis, we will see mucosal leishmaniasis, and post-Kala Azar dermal leishmaniasis. So then that is all about this. So these are the stages of the infection. So in the starting stage, there won't be any treatment. People think it is a normal skin lesion, but it will start going to the depth, it will go to the oral, it will go to the perinatal, and it will go to a severe infection. So for each stage of the infection, we have different types of drugs to treat the patient. In case of a first stage, we will go for thermotherapy, then we will go for giving drugs called miltefon. So we have a very good strategies to contain this parasitic infection. So we have very good strategies, preventive strategies to prevent this infection, both pharmaceutically, medically, and epidemiologically. We have very good knowledge to contain this parasitic infection. So the most affected states in India with the leishmania infection are West Bengal, Patna, and New Delhi. So Bihar, Bengal, Patna, and New Delhi are the most affected states in India. So kindly take this thing seriously. The Leishmania infection is a serious concern. So especially in past Patna, there are PKDL cases are very high. Post Kala-Azar dermal leishmaniasis cases are very high in Patna, and in Bihar, almost 4.4 people out of 10,000 people, 4 people are getting infected by this leishmania or suffering with leishmania infection. So in Delhi, in New Delhi, 1995 to 2004. Many people has been admitted into the hospitals due to leishmania complications. So leishmania is a serious concern. So these are the stages of leishmania. We have a susceptible host. He will become asymptomatic carrier. Then he will get active Kala-Azar disease. After 2 years, he will once again develop post Kala-Azar dermal leishmaniasis. And we need to identify these people. We need to trace these people. We need to give treatment to these people, and we need to surveillance, and we need to prevent future possible outbreak of this infection into the community. So we need to break the chain of infection by keeping a routine surveillance programs also. Okay, so this is all about the overview of leishmania disease and its timeline. And this is the transmission. You already know it will transmit through sandfly. There is a specific name for this sandfly called phlebotomous. So from this phlebotomous sandfly bite, we will get this leishmania infection. Okay, so in my next lecture, I will go with my lecture. Now I want to tell one more important thing. Similarly, the way we have in the last virology classes, I have standardized some 14 points for all viruses, right? Similarly, I have standardized 8 important points for all parasites. So the general points that we will cover for any parasites is, we will discuss about introduction and its statistics and epidemiology and history. Then we will discuss classification of that parasite. We will discuss its morphology. Morphology includes both vegetative form and cyst form or eggs. And we will discuss its life cycle. In the life cycle, we will discuss the pathogenesis, reservoir, portal of exit, mode of transmission, portal of entry, and susceptible host. Then we will discuss about clinical signs and symptoms of the parasite. Then we will discuss laboratory diagnosis of that parasite, treatment of that parasite, and preventive actions of that parasite. So these are the major points that we need to cover in each and every parasite. We need to cover introduction, classification, morphology, life cycle, clinical signs and symptoms, lab diagnosis, treatment, and prevention. Okay, so in my next lecture, I will discuss in detail about the following points in my next lecture. Okay, so a quick revision of today's lecture. So in today's lecture, we discussed about the leishmania. Before that, we discussed a brief overview on a chain of infection. So chain of infection contains pathogenic agents, reservoirs, portal of exit, transmission, portal of entry, and susceptible host. Then I discussed about Kala-Azar. Before that, I discussed about reticular endothelial system. Then I discussed about the brief the mechanism of how we will get leishmania disease. So leishmania disease starts with a sandfly infection. So sandfly it will bite, and after sandfly bite, the trophozoite will be released into the circulation. Now these trophozoites, to be precise, this is a promastigote. So promastigote will be released into the circulation, and this promastigote will migrate towards the macrophage, and it will reside inside the macrophage, and inside the macrophage it will convert to amastigote, and from this amastigote, the amastigote will start migrating to the spleen, liver, and bone marrow, resulting in getting conditions such as cutaneous leishmaniasis, visceral leishmaniasis, and mucocutaneous leishmaniasis, and post Kala-Azar dermal leishmaniasis. So this is how the cutaneous leishmaniasis looks like, and this is how a visceral leishmaniasis looks like. This is how a mucocutaneous leishmaniasis looks like, and this is how a post Kala-Azar dermal leishmaniasis looks like. Then I discussed about the epidemiology, and I discussed about the general points that need to be studied in all parasites. So no matter whatever parasite it is, we need to satisfy all these points. We need to discuss about its introduction, classification, morphology, life cycle, clinical signs and symptoms, lab diagnosis, treatment, and prevention. So this is what I covered in today's lecture. In my next class, I will discuss in detail about all these points of leishmania. Okay, so thank you very much, students. If you have any doubts, you can ask me now. If you have any doubts, you can ask me.
No, sir. Thank you.
Yes, let me download the attendance and you can leave.
Sir, sir, please upload the video also on
Definitely,
YouTube.
definitely. I will.
सर नेटवर्क इशू होने की वजह से प्रियंका ने ज्वाइन नहीं हो पाई, तो बोल रही थी बताने के लिए।
Okay, it's okay. She can watch my YouTube lecture. Okay. So Priyanka is not there in this session.
नो सर।
Okay. Navneet, is Navneet there? Navneet became
यस
lazy.
सर, नवनीत है।
But he's not responding. Okay. So thank you very much, students. Have a nice weekend. Okay. See you. See you, students.
थैंक यू सर।
Yes. See you.